Water pollution. Water in nature is present in three forms: the atmospheric moisture, precipitations, and soil water. The precipitation or rainfall is the chief source of soil moisture. Water covers about 75% of our surface. Water resources are the oceans, lakes, streams, rivers, ponds, and springs. Water is a universal solvent and contains several essential minerals and gases on which life depends. Thus, it is very essential for the survival of all living organisms. Water pollution is caused by adding substances to natural waters that makes the water less suitable for human use and disrupt aquatic ecosystem. Thus, a water mass may be polluted by drinking purpose, while it is not considered polluted for irrigations or some industrial use. The most important sources of water pollution are sewage and industrial waste. The discharge water from various industries is having many of the same problem, plus some additional ones. The type of contaminations depend upon the particular industries and the particular process employed. It is possible to classify the contaminants into three categories. First is a floating material. Typical floating material would be oil and grease. They have been making the water unslightly retard aquatic plant growth by blocking the sunlight and interfering with the natural reaerations, destroying the natural vegetations along the banks. They are often toxic to fish and other aquatic life. They destroy waterfall and can also be fire hazards. Second category is a suspended matter. A common example of suspended matter has been mineral tailing. Typically, mineral tailing forms slime and sludge which smoother purifying microorganisms and ruin fish spawning and breeding grounds. If the suspended matter has been organic, it would decompose using the dissolved oxygen and would produce noxious and odors. Third category is a dissolved impurities. A typical dissolved substances would be acids, alkali, heavy metals, and insecticides. In general, they have been making water undrinkable and destroy aquatic life. For example, phenol, even in very low concentrations, that is about 0.001 mg per liter concentrations, it provides a very objectionable taste and odor. They also can build and concentrate their effects through the normal food chain. For example, an unpleasant taste is noticed when eating fish which had lived in water with a phenol concentration of only 0.001 mg per liter. Little is known about the effect on human health of many of these common water pollutants. Nitrate have been linked to methanoglobinemia and death in infants. The ingested nitrates can be reduced by microorganisms in a digestive tract to nitrates. These nitrate and microorganisms can then oxidize the iron atom in hemoglobin from ferrous to ferric. This results in a methemoglobin molecules, one which is incapable of O2 transport. Most of the other common substances probably have no major acute effect on human health. Many, however, do have chronic effect. For example, many of the organic substances have been reported to be carcinogens. Selenium causes bad teeth, gastrointestinal problem, and skin discolorations. Sodium and potassium are sodium and or potassiums are bad for people with certain health problems. On the other hand, some water impurities appear to be beneficial. The deficiency of chromium would favor atherosclerotic diseases. There is evidence that degenerative cardiovascular diseases get reduced by a factor present in hard water but absent in soft water. Several other infectious agents is a category for water pollution. There are several disease-causing organisms like bacteria, protozoan, parasites, and viruses pollute the water. The major source of infections agents includes untreated or improperly treated sewage. Then second is the tanneries release untreated animal waste. Third is the animal waste and some fourth one is some wildlife species transmit waterborne diseases. Here, water polluted with sewage is major source of illness and death in developing countries. Each year, diarrhea kills more than 4 million people, mostly children. Other diseases spread by human waste in water include typhoid, which affect 70 million people in developing countries, amoebiasis, 500 million, hepatitis to 50 millions, gastroenteritis 1000 millions, and cholera around 30,000 get affected worldwide. One more category of water pollutant is the sediments. Sediment is a byproduct of agriculture, mining, and constructions of road buildings, civil works. Agriculture practices increases erosion rate by 4 to 8 times, whereas poor construction may increase the rate of erosion by 10 to 200 times. Sediment is limiting to fish and decreases light penetration killing vegetations. One more point category in water pollution is a acid water system, where another problem often experienced in natural water system due to industrial pollutants is a change in the pH of water. Natural waters now vary in pH from 4 to about 9.5. Some of the acidifications of water occurs naturally. Carbonic acid formed by the reaction of CO2 and water in the atmosphere is picked up in a normal precipitation process, so that rainwater is typically at about pH 5.6. However, acid mine seepage and particularly acid rain have had a major effect on the pH of many lakes and streams. Acid rain, for example, can have a pH as low as 3.9 in areas where calcium or lime are present in a rocks or soil. Some of this additional acid is neutralized. The pH of water has a major effect on the type of fish and other aquatic species present in that area. A recent study revealed that pH was 30% more important than water temperatures and 50% more important than diesel oxygen. Alkaline streams are usually found in localities where the rock and soil contains calcium carbonate. Rain with its normally small amount of carbonic acid dissolves the calcium carbonate present and forms calcium bicarbonate. The calcium bicarbonate is a source of CO2 for photosynthesis by green plants. In addition, calcium carbonate is itself necessary for the growth of crustaceans such as crayfish, squids, and some bugs. Another source of food, which serves as another source of food for fish. The effect of even fairly remote, high elevations lakes has been a serious problem of particular concerns to the sports fishermen. Work is being undertaken by several groups to develop means of neutralizing some of these acid lakes. It has been experimented with dumping agriculture crush limes by helicopters into selected lakes, has found it feasible on a cost-benefit basis. Studies are also underway to develop an acid resistant strain of fishes. The situation does not look as if it will improve. However, in the near future, it may change. Pollution in freshwater, sewage and domestic waste. About 75% of water pollution is caused only by sewage and domestic waste. Humans have always dumped sewage in rivers and other bodies of water where it would be carried away and disappear. Domestic sewage contains decomposable organic matter with depleted oxygen. The amount of oxygen consumed in biological process involving degradations of organic matter is termed BOD, or biological oxygen demand, which is generally expressed as mg per liter. The decomposed material eventually become nutrients that plant use. When human population was small, aquatic ecosystems were able to absorb this load of sewage, and materials get recycled as waste from all other organisms. However, the additions of human waste to water introduce into the ecosystem a large variety of microorganisms, many of which cause human disease as cholera, typhoid fevers, and many parasitic infections. With the increasing human population, the amount of sewage becomes too great to be processed by aquatic ecosystem. Not only did water become unfit to drink, but it became foul and bad smelling. As the amount of organic matter increases in water, the microorganisms that use the nutrient in it rapidly increase in number. The inorganic nutrients released by decomposition serve as nutrient for algae. They too reproduce rapidly and use more and more of available oxygen. Eventually, there is not sufficient oxygen to support the aerobic, aerobic organisms in the ecosystem and they die. Their bodies contribute to the organic mass and further complicate the situations. Eventually, only anaerobic microorganisms survive. Many of them produce methane gas and H2S, hydrogen sulfide gas, to give foul smell. Sewage treatment plants is the answer for this. The water pollution becomes so great that sewage treatment plants were developed. In this, the sewage was first passed through a system of screen that strain out large objects and then pass into a large settings tanks where particulates settle out. This is the primary sewage treatment. The secondary sewage treatment aerates the material from settling in tanks, keeping the oxygen level high, while anaerobic while aerobic bacteria and other amino organisms consume the organic matter. The fluid in finally mix with chlorine to kill bacteria. The chlorinated liquid is released into streams and other bodies of water. The solid fraction that has settled out is dumped or buried. Both primary and secondary sewage treatment removes most of objectionable aspects of human sewage. Tertiary sewage treatment is the final step. This treatment removes much of the dissolved nutrient by ion exchange system and reverse osmosis. After passing through the tertiary sewage treatment, the sewage is released into natural waters. Another aspect is the industrial waste. In water pollution, it also caused by industrial plants releasing their inorganic and organic waste out. The non-usable chemicals are usually dumped in water as means of getting rid of them. The toxicity of these industrial pollutants to aquatic organisms like fishes is variable, but all of them contaminate the aquatic environment to a greater or lesser extent, and some accumulate on the bottom of water courses and poison the bottom organisms. In this way, they reduce the foods for some kinds of fishes. The industries whose trades waste or effluent play a major role in pollutions of water include paper and pulp, textile, sugar, fertilizer, ferrous and non-ferrous metals, rubbers, chemical works, distilleries. In many cases, the release of effluent water and the relative temperature rise causes growth of sewage fungus. Caustic soda and the chlorine factories waste are rich in mercury. The mercury taken by aquatic life is highly toxic, producing nerve disorder. Several molluscs in streams are found to accumulate considerable amount of copper and zinc, which affect a number of physiological processes of mollusks. Next point is a heat which cause pollution in freshwater. Various industrial processes may utilize water for cooling. The resultant warm water has often been discharged into streams or lakes. As the solubility of water is dependent upon temperature, this also reduces the dissolved oxygen content of water, thereby affecting the aquatic life. This is also called as a thermal pollution. But some scientists refer this as a calefaction, that means warming. Most of the aquatic forms are very sensitive to temperature fluctuations and cannot adjust to rapid, extensive temperature changes. In fishes, it affects the growth rate, feeding rates, and migration. For many fish, affects the growth rate, feeding rate, and migrations. For many freshwater fishes, reproduction would probably not occur at all above 20 degrees centigrade. Another pollutant in freshwater pollution is sleet. Sometimes the intensive agriculture and earth moving for construction project increase the production of sleets in streams and lakes. This load of particulate matters cut down on primary productivity by decreasing the depth of light penetrations. Sleet may also interrupt or prevent the reproduction of edible fishes like salmon. Another one is a radioactive waste. Today man is using various types of atoms and radioisotopes for preserving food, powering industries and fueling transport. Their waste affect the aquatic plants and animals to a very great extent. They cause ionization of various body fluids, chromosomal aberrations and gene mutations, thus affecting man through food chain. Agriculture water pollutions is one of the factor. Agriculture waste includes the pesticides that are sprayed on crops, as well as sediments, fertilizers, and plants and animal debris that are carried into waterways during periods of rainfall or as runoff and during the irrigations of farmland. Waste generated by farm animals are also included in this category. Until mid-1950s, animal waste posed little problem because they were for the most part reused as fertilizer. With the advent of agribusiness, however, the trend has been to ship the animal to large feedlots for fattening prior to marketing. This practice of keeping large number of animals in a small area has led to an excess of animal waste generated in and confined to given area, where it has been economically impossible to distribute waste for reuse as fertilizer. These materials become a problem when they are allowed to enter waterways during the cleaning of the confinement areas of during this period of heavy rainfall when runoff carries them into adjacent waterways. Since these wastes are organic, they increase the BOD of that receiving water reservoirs. A remarkably large number of pesticides have come into the widespread use in recent years. Many of these compounds have been not only non-biodegradable but are also only slightly soluble in water. Consequently, when sprayed on cropland, they remain in a soil for a long period of time. During periods of heavy rainfall or when the crops are irrigated, they tend to be carried as suspended particles into surface, marine or groundwater system. In both fresh and marine system, they enter the food chain, undergo concentrations in non-target organisms, and increase in animal tissues to alarming levels. In surface, fresh and groundwater system, they may also enter the drinking water supplies of various communities. Another one is a solid waste pollution in case of freshwater pollution. Solid waste varies in compositions with the socio-economic status of the generating community. Like they are classified as a one is a garbage, which includes all decomposable waste from household as well as from food, canning, freezing, and meat processing operations that are not disposed of in wastewater. Rubbish includes all non-decomposable waste. These materials may be either combustible or non-combustible. Combustible materials would include garden waste, cloth, and paper. Non-combustible materials include masonry, some chemicals, metals, and glass. Sewage sludge is generated from the settling process in primary, secondary, and tertiary treatment method, as well as the solid from the that is pools, which must be removed periodically. Miscellaneous materials include industrial waste such as chemical, paints, explosive, as well as mining waste such as slag heaps and mine tailings. Another important factor is the pesticides and herbicides. Pesticides and herbicides are used to increase the agriculture productivity. These compounds, when sprayed on plant to kill the harmful pests and weeds, percolate through the soil and get dissolved in soil water, thus polluting it. These compounds accumulate in the bodies of aquatic plants and animals and can affect these aquatic organisms and man through food chains. Some other chemicals which cause freshwater pollution are various other chemicals pollutants have been detected in freshwater ecosystem. The waste of coal mining produce acids in water due to the presence of sulfur that sometimes lower the pH of stream as well as 1. This lowered pH usually kills all life in a stream. Fairly recent pollutants are polychlorinated biphenyls (PCBs). They degrade very slowly and accumulate in food chains. The exact toxicity of this chemical is not well known.